the second that like the credits start rolling, the Twitter's going, and
yeah.
So Valentine's Day is coming, and the folks at Umbra, a cool new company we're working with, have a deal on like jewelry containers and storage and cosmetics containers. Umbra does really cool, modern, earth-friendly storage and shelving and lighting and furniture, and they do like little things to hang your rings and your necklaces on. So if your honey gives you something sparkly for Valentine's Day, you'll have a place to put it.
Don't wad it up and throw it in a drawer. Put it on an Umbra.
They've got a deal going from now until midnight Eastern on February 12th. It is Sunday. 20% off all jewelry storage. Your code is VDAY. We'll have a link and all that good stuff for you down below. Yes, news. Alonso, you saw Ant-Man last night. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and we have early first reactions. Can you give us an early first reaction?
I mean, I'm under embargo, you know.
Are you though?
Well, okay. Here's the thing. Social reactions are not embargoed, but I kind of hate the idea that I have to like do a quick blast out when I'm going to write a full ass review. So go read my full ass review when it runs on Valentine's Day when the embargo lifts.
Everyone likes to clamor to be first. Like the second that like the credits start rolling, the Twitter's going, and
yes.
I also like to marinate on things too. But so far, it seems like early word is pretty positive on the new Ant-Man.
Oh, cool.
Which you did not notice.
I didn't look. I've seen the movie. I don't care what people think. No, I will say that, I went to I did not go to the premiere. I went to a press screening that was happening at the same time as the premiere, and the room felt like they were with it and digging it and having fun with it.
Box office for this past weekend, Knock at the Cabin was #1. It knocked Avatar, The Way of Water, off the top spot where it had been for about 7 weeks. It made $14.2 million in its opening weekend. So people seem to like it.
Yeah.
I think more than we did.
Yeah.
But the real story is that 80 for Brady did really well.
Yeah. I was
80 for Brady
surprised.
had a huge $12.5 million. They did it with cheaper tickets. They did it with a whole bunch of sneaks on the days leading up to the actual day. And then they did it with cheaper tickets. And I just thought at first that the cheaper tickets were $8 for Tom Brady, like 80 for Brady. But apparently they did a bunch of cheap tickets all the time for everyone.
Yeah. AMC and Regal and like all the big chains basically are experimenting with this kind of like, sliding scale pricing thing for movies. And so for 80 for Brady, because they were really trying to reach an older demographic that's been harder to get back into movie theaters, they decided they would offer matinee pricing all day. So whatever the matinee ticket in your area goes for, that's going to be, any show of 80 for Brady was going to sell at that rate. And it seems to have paid off for them. They did some good numbers this weekend. So given between that and the thing we're about to discuss with AMC, I'm curious if box office reporting is going to start including a number of tickets sold as well as total gross for the weekend. Because if movies are going to be charged differently based on which movie it is and who they're trying to appeal to, I think that is going to be a factor in terms of, this was #1 at the box office because the tickets were, full price, but this other movie that charged less actually sold more. I hope that enters the conversation.
It's tricky. Yeah. So AMC announced just yesterday this totally stupid idea to charge different prices for different quality of seats. And so I think it's so weird because I think the quality of seat is in the eye of the sitter.
Well, exactly.
What you and I always sit in the very back right corner. I've always sat in the very, very back. I don't want to be smack in the middle of people. I want to be able to get up and go. And I just like it back there. I don't want people breathing on me. But like our good friend Amy Nicholson, without fail, will go up to the very, very front. And that's where she wants to be. And so I don't know what they think is like everyone's ideal movie theater seat, and they're going to charge accordingly. It's going to cost more to sit like smack in the middle.
I guess they're going based on what most people want. Because, maybe we're just weirdo outliers and most people do want to be in that middle section. And I mean, this is how theaters charge, if you're sitting in orchestra, it's not the same as if you're in the loge or whatever.
Or a concert,
Yeah. But I'm like an A-list member, so it's moot for me anyway. Wherever I sit, it's going to be a free ticket, or not a free ticket, but it's part of my membership. So, We'll see this is a big swing. We'll see how long they stick with it.
Let us know, you guys, what you think of this, and if this will change
when or
where or how you see movies. I wonder if this is a thing that will stick. I wonder if this is just like, as you said, like, is this an experiment?
Yeah.
That's going to go away pretty soon. I mean, or is it just going to be like a giant empty space in the middle and everyone's like around in the periphery and at the bottom? If it's like an appreciable amount more,
it's a couple bucks.
Like $20 to sit smack in the middle versus like $8 on the aisle or whatever.
I think it's going to be like a first date gauge. Like, did he spring for the good middle seats? Oh, we're in oh, really? Yeah, maybe no second date for you.
And then how does IMAX figure into that?
Good
right?
point.
Where you do want to be in the middle.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You front row for IMAX that's a no.
The Grammys were this weekend. Did you watch them? Do you care?
I didn't. The Grammys and the VMAs are my sort of annual dose of like, I don't know who anyone is anymore. Mm-hmm. Although apparently if you are a headline writer at the Daily Mail, you don't know who Bonnie Raitt is either, because they had a headline that said unknown blues singer beats like Beyonce and Adele for Song of the Year. And it's like, and I looked it up on Wikipedia. Bonnie Raitt has not had a huge chart presence in the UK. But still,
she's a legend.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing.
No excuse for that.
That's embarrassing. Beyonce is now the record winner for the most Grammys.
Yes.
But she still hasn't won Album of the Year. This is a thing that has eluded her consistently, and she was up against Adele again. And did not win again. And then there was a big thing with Madonna. She showed up and she looked like she had done some things to her face that were quite confusing.
They looked like they looked in that video we talked about a couple of weeks ago where she announced her world tour with the Truth or Dare thing. Like, as somebody on Twitter said, I'm not mad at Madonna for what she's done to her face. I'm mad at society for making Madonna feel like she had to do that to her face.
But this is like she has like cheek implants. Like the whole structure of her face looks totally different.
Look,
it's perplexing.
People can do things to their bodies, and it's not my place to judge. But I will say that
judging.
But these things aren't happening outside of context. You know, she is part of a patriarchy. She is an artist who, insists on remaining relevant. How dare she, after several decades in the business, and this is where it's taken her.
You're right. No, it's sad that someone of the stature of Madonna feels that she must do that to look youthful or whatever. And there's a huge hip hop tribute that was so cool. I wish it had just been the entire show. Like it was sort of like tantalizing. Like, ooh, that person got a line. Ooh, that person got a line. Oh, wait, come back. So that was a really, really cool part of the show. I watched that part. Something I don't watch, which I hear is great, is Yellowstone. Have you ever seen Yellowstone?
I caught a couple of episodes that I was sort of half paying attention to when I went home for Christmas because my sister-in-law watches it.
Was it good?
And my friend Daniel over at Deck the Hallmark, he and Justin Kirkland do a podcast called John Dutton Must Die about Yellowstone, but I'm not a super fan.
Okay. Apparently Kevin Costner is leaving. Like there's all this like kerfuffle about like he's done. It's all rumored, and then rumored that there will now be a spinoff that Taylor Sheridan will do with Matthew McConaughey. The story that's going around is that basically Costner has other irons in the fire, and it's harder to get him to commit to the time necessary to do the show. And apparently everybody else on the show is thrilled to be doing the show. So the idea is, what if we shuffle a bit, get rid of him, bring in Matthew McConaughey, and keep going. So, it's a huge hit, obviously. And so, and if Costner is at a place where he doesn't need that hit and wants to go do other stuff, then fine. And then the TV show, I'm sure, will do fine without him. Did you read the Armie Hammer article?
I didn't read it. I couldn't. Give me the précis.
So basically, he says that he was an awful human being, but he says that everything that happened with these women was consensual within the boundaries of the BDSM community. And with this one woman that they had a whole thing staged where like she picked out the Starbucks where he would see her for the first time and follow her home from. And like she would have the door propped open for him for like a home invasion kind of consensual
scenario,
non-consensual scenario. So there's that, but he also acknowledges that there was a vast power imbalance because of who he was, because of his fame and his wealth. And these were young women in their 20s, and he could get them to do things that probably the ordinary person could not. So he's acknowledging all of that. He has been in recovery. He says that Robert Downey Jr. has been particularly supportive of him and his recovery and like offered to pay for his recovery. Like you'd think he could pay for it. He's a Hammer, but maybe they aren't supporting him in this. I don't know. I don't know all of that, but he said all the right things.
Okay.
So
it's a start.
It sounds like he is very much acknowledging a lot of his wrongdoing here.
Yeah.
And he's a sober companion for somebody else who is trying to get sober. He went through rehab for like substance abuse and sex addiction issues.
Gotcha.
And he's trying to pay that forward now. So there is that.
And speaking of paying it forward, I mean, like I still remember when Mel Gibson really was there for Robert Downey Jr. back in the 90s, like when they made Air America, and Gibson sort of stepped up to cover the insurance for Downey because the company didn't want to, because he had been, going through his own addiction issues, and, obviously came out really well on the other side of it. So, that's great that RDJ is doing the same for somebody else. Yeah. I mean, obviously I think, things wind up being more complicated than they sound when the first headlines hit, and it's everybody's like,
he's a cannibal.
Exactly. But at the same time, I think, there are a lot of people who have genuine stories to tell, and there are people who have a genuine road to travel before they get to be like absolved of everything and return to, whatever their careers were. So, I mean, I think these sounds like the first steps for Armie Hammer to do so. And so good for him for taking them.
And also he said, I forgot this part too, that he had been sexually abused himself by a pastor when he was 13. And that when all of the stuff came crashing down, that he contemplated suicide. He contemplated like just walking into the ocean and not coming back.
Oh, wow.
So hopefully he is getting all the help he needs. And then Melinda Dillon died.
Yes.
At 83, I thought of you because I know how much you love Christmas movies, and I don't know where Christmas Story ranks for you in the pantheon of them, but she's of course an important figure there, and also in Close Encounters. And she was the original Honey on Broadway in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yeah. Yeah. And a really great performance in Absence of Malice. As Paul Newman's girlfriend, who gets tied into this whole like tabloidy news cycle, and things do not go well. Yeah, she was a really remarkable actress, and I was one of many critics who was like, why isn't she in A Christmas Story Christmas? And obviously if she'd been having health issues, that would be why. And so she was the role was taken over by Julie Hagerty in the sequel. But yeah, Melinda Dillon, a really terrific actress, and I think is she in Prince of Tides too? Is that her?
Oh, I can't remember.
Anyway, but yeah, Dynamite and yeah, it's a real loss.